Greetings and welcome to the Introduction to Astronomy. In this week's Misconception in Astronomy, we are going to talk about the nearest stars and find out if Alpha Centauri is the nearest star to our own sun. So let's go ahead and get started here. So is Alpha Centauri the nearest star to our sun? And the answer is no. At least it was until another star was discovered back in 1915, a little over 100 years ago. So until that time, Alpha Centauri was known as the nearest star to our sun. But then we found one that is nearer, known as Proxima Centauri. And here we can see a highlight showing all of the different stars nearby to the sun. This is the sun's local neighborhood. And you can see the Alpha Centauri system listed there. And that is the grouping of stars that is closest to our sun. However, it is not one star, and you can see it down there, kind of below that, and Proxima Centauri just a little bit off from Alpha Centauri. So what we know is that Alpha Centauri is really a triple star system. There are 3 stars there together. 2 orbiting close together, which we know as Alpha Centauri. And the 3rd star is Proxima Centauri, which gets its name because it is currently in the part of its orbit closest to Earth. So it is a little bit closer to our sun. It is on the near side of Alpha Centauri. If you wait another 20 or 30,000 years, it will then be farther away. So it is temporarily a little bit closer. And this occurs because it has a very large orbit. So it is one star orbiting around the other 2. So the 2 close together, 3rd one orbiting at a much greater distance. Now we can take a little bit of a look at that orbit right here, and we can see Proxima down there labeled down to the lower right-hand side, and the Alpha Centauri system up above there, up to the upper left side. And over tens of thousands of years, that position slowly changes. So it takes, again, about 500,000 years for it to make its orbit around there. Now, Proxima Centauri is also known for having a planetary system, and in fact is the nearest planetary system to Earth. So it does have a planetary system here, and it has the closest potentially habitable planet. And we can see that there. That is what is known as Proxima Centauri b, and its orbit is labeled there in the yellow. It is an Earth-sized planet, about 25% larger than Earth, and orbits around its star about every 11 days. So if you think about that, 1 year on this planet, a year on Earth is 365 days. A year here would be about 11 days. And you can see that here relative to the orbit of Mercury on the left in our own solar system. So you can get an idea of how close this planet orbits to its star. That's because it's a much smaller, cool red star that you'd have to be a lot closer to become habitable. The definition of a habitable planet is one that is similar to Earth in terms of size, so it would have a solid surface, and at the right distance from its star for liquid water to be able to be present on the surface. That doesn't mean that it is habitable or that there is life there, only that it has that potential. And of course, we've found that trying to detect life is a very difficult thing to figure out if there is indeed life out there somewhere. Now, overall, if we think about this, we also know that the stars do move. And there have been other stars that have passed closer than Alpha Centauri, and there will be again in the future. But for the foreseeable future for us, it is going to be the stars of the Alpha Centauri system that are closest to our sun. So let's go ahead and finish up and look at our summary here. And what we find with our summary is Alpha Centauri system. We have 3 stars. The closest to Earth is the one known as Proxima Centauri, which will remain closest for tens of thousands of years. But because of the slow motions of the stars, millions of years from now, other stars will pass even closer than the Alpha Centauri system. So that concludes this week's Misconception in Astronomy on the fact that Alpha Centauri is the closest star to our sun. We'll be back again next week for another Misconception in Astronomy. So until then, have a great day, everyone, and I will see you in class.